Chapter 14, An Angry Cai Wei. Cai Wei's intense reaction gave Li Luo quite a scare. Seeing the anger clouding her delicate, oval-shaped face, he felt a bit embarrassed and quickly said, "Sister Cai Wei, what are you saying? Your abilities are clear to everyone. How could I possibly not want you to be in charge?" Cai Wei fixed her beautiful eyes on Li Luo. After a long moment, she gradually calmed down and said, "Please forgive me, young lord. My earlier words were too harsh." She paused, then continued, "But, young lord, you want to purchase another 100 units of spirit liquids and wondrous lights. That's no trivial matter. Besides, you should know that while these spirit liquids and wondrous lights can enhance a person's elemental affinity grade, using them recklessly may cause the palaces to seal prematurely." Cai Wei was aware of Li Luo's issue with being born with an empty resonance. Thus, she didn't want to be too blunt, afraid of hurting a sensitive spot. After thinking it over, her eyes suddenly sharpened. "Is someone deceiving you in secret, trying to take advantage of your status to get access to spirit liquids and wondrous lights?" Although those who remained in the old mansion had all been carefully screened, the two heads of the house had been missing for years. It was not impossible that someone might harbor ill intentions. And with spirit liquids and wondrous lights being such expensive items, someone trying to trick the young lord wouldn't be entirely out of the question. If that really were the case, Cai Wei would ensure that the culprit paid a steep price. Li Luo shook his head and said seriously, "Don't overthink it, Sister Cai Wei. I truly need those spirit liquids and wondrous lights for myself." Cai Wei's brows knit tightly. "I hope this isn't overstepping, but, may I ask what exactly you need so many of them for, young lord?" "I'm not trying to interrogate you," she added quickly, "I'm just worried you might be rushing into something dangerous. If something happens to you, I wouldn't be able to face Jingyi." She understood the pressure that the so-called empty resonance had placed on Li Luo. Young people could be impulsive, and she feared that Li Luo might have gotten hold of some dubious remedy and was desperate to try it out. Li Luo hesitated for a moment, then finally said, "It's no issue to tell you, Sister Cai Wei. Actually, it's a secret technique left to me by my parents. It can ultimately allow me to awaken a resonance, but these spirit liquids and wondrous lights are essential for that. Jingyi is aware of this as well. His eventual awakening of a resonance would become known sooner or later, and at that time, it would certainly stir curiosity." Claiming it was the result of a secret technique left by his parents made for a perfect cover. Cai Wei was startled. A secret technique left by the two lords. Still, she felt a little skeptical and studied Li Luo's expression, but he looked entirely composed, not like someone fabricating a lie. In the end, she could only nod. "If that's the case, I'll handle the procurement," Cai Wei sighed softly. Acquiring 100 units of 4th grade spirit liquids and wondrous lights would cost tens of thousands of heaven-tier gold, and it would slash the funding available to the Luo Lan House in Tianxia County by half. That would make it even more difficult for her to fend off the aggressive encroachment of the other three families. But she knew how to prioritize. If this truly could help Li Luo awaken a resonance, even giving up all assets in Tianxia County would be worth it. Seeing her gently furrowed brows, Li Luo felt a little guilty and asked, "Am I pulling too many funds away and making things hard for you?" Cai Wei looked up at him. Gazing at the young man's handsome and refined face, youthful, yet clearly bearing the strong genes of his parents, she smiled softly. Her mood improved a little. "It's true that things will be tighter, but it's not too troublesome. Don't worry, young lord, I'll handle it." Li Luo sighed inwardly. Just this batch of 100 was already giving Cai Wei a headache, but compared to what he would need in the future, this was just a drop in the bucket. Is the headquarters of Luo Lan House unable to send any funds, he asked. Cai Wei shook her head slightly and replied apologetically, you should already know some of the issues at headquarters, young lord. Plus, after Pei Hao seized 3 branches, we lost their income, which only made things worse there. In other words, the headquarters couldn't send money either. Li Luo nodded and chose not to press further. After chatting warmly with Cai Wei for a while to strengthen their bond, he took his leave. Cai Wei stared in the direction he had gone, lost in thought. She felt the young lord's personality was actually quite pleasant, warm and unassuming, without arrogance. And he was certainly handsome. Given time, he might even rival his father, Li Taixuan, who once captured the hearts of countless noble women in the Xia kingdom. In terms of appearance and temperament, he and Jiang Qingyi were well matched. The only flaw was his natural lack of a resonance. In this world, no matter the wealth or power one had, it all ultimately depended on strength. Just like the Luo Lan House when Li Taixuan and Tan Tai Lan were present, it was one of the 5 great houses of the Xia kingdom, shining brilliantly, untouchable. But once the 2 pillars vanished, the house's brilliance began to fade, leaving it battered and uncertain. With Jiang Qingyi's talent, her future would undoubtedly be dazzling. She might even break the record for the youngest person to reach the Duke stage in the Xia kingdom. If that day came, her engagement to Li Luo could become a burden. Cai Wei, a close friend of Jiang Qingyi, knew she wasn't the kind to be cold and heartless, but she worried that it might be Li Luo who would be unable to handle the pressure of that situation. Still, if what Li Luo said was true and the 2 lords had left behind a secret technique that could fix his flaw, then perhaps he and Jiang Qingyi could grow closer again. But even so, there was still a long road ahead. Having lived in the capital city where powerhouses gathered like clouds, Cai Wei understood all too well just how dazzling Jiang Qingyi was there, and how many elite young talents longed for her. Compared to that world, a city like Nanfan was just a tiny place. Suppressing her swirling thoughts, Cai Wei rose and summoned her people to begin preparations for Li Luo's requested purchases. Half a day later, everything Li Luo needed had been gathered. Impressed by Cai Wei's efficiency, he carried the 2 boxes of spirit liquids and wondrous lights up to the attic. In the remaining days of his vacation, Li Luo devoted all his time to cultivating his phase force and enhancing the grade of his resonance. Previously, his level had jumped from 3rd seal to 4th seal in just 2 days, mostly due to his past accumulation. But going from 4th to 5th seal would take a bit more time. Still, that delay was only relative. By the final day of the break, Li Luo had managed another breakthrough. He reached the 5th seal. And aside from the phase force advancement, his 4th grade water light resonance had also evolved. With the final unit of 4th grade spirit liquid and wondrous light consumed and absorbed, it advanced to 5th grade. Thus, Li Luo's week-long break came to an end. That morning, as he stepped out of the old residence and into the sunlight, he wore a radiant smile. This week had brought a transformation as if he had been reborn. The boy once known for his empty resonance had begun his journey to change his fate. He stood at the entrance, gazing in the direction where Jiang Qingyi had departed a week ago, and exhaled deeply. Holy Xianxing Academy. I'm definitely going. A bit late today. I went to get a haircut. Ended up looking a bit like Li Luo. Too bad you can't see it. End of chapter.